As I'm sure you're well aware by now, EA is no stranger to boilerplate apologies and canned statements. We've already heard a number of them throughout the months following the Battlefront 2 debacle, and just about all of them reek of bullcrap. More recently, Patrick Soderlund, who was recently promoted to Chief Design Officer at EA, said that it wasn't their intention to create a slot machine or take people's money. To which I said, yeah, right, I'm sure you just accidentally stumbled upon an intricately, insidiously designed loot box-based progression system. I'm sure things like Need for Speed's loot boxes, which sound and spin like slot machines, were completely unintentional. And now Patrick Soderlund is back at it again with a statement he provided during an interview with website The Verge. He began by stating the following: "I'd be lying to you if I said that what's happened with Battlefront and what's happened with everything surrounding loot boxes and these things haven't had an effect on EA as a company and an effect on us management. We can shy away from it and pretend like it didn't happen, or we can act responsibly and realize that we made some mistakes and try to rectify those mistakes and learn from them." Yeah, here's the thing though, buddy. For a while, you guys did pretend like it didn't happen. You had people like EA CFO and COO Blake Jorgensen spout crap about how they aren't going to change their strategy moving forward, just refining it. We have seen him blatantly lie that a cosmetic-only microtransaction system would not be possible because it would violate the canon and whatnot. And yet here we are with an overhauled version of Battlefront 2 that has cosmetic-only, non-chance-based microtransactions, which he said just wasn't possible, and the game is certainly much better off for it. We have heard EA CEO Andrew Wilson spout that, quote, "Going forward, we believe that live services that include optional digital monetization, when done right, provide a very important element of choice that can extend and enhance the experience in our games." They say all of this despite the fact that feedback against paid loot boxes has been unanimous. We want them out of our games, period. The only ones trying to sell this narrative that loot boxes are there to offer player choice rather than prey on people's addictive tendencies to extract as much money as possible is EA and similar publishers, a narrative that nobody's buying. Hell, EA knows that what they're saying is utter nonsense. These guys aren't stupid, they're just deviously cunning. I also hate the fact that Patrick is using the word mistake, playing coy to the fact that they didn't purposely make the conscious decision to make Battlefront 2 worse for the sake of monetization. There's a huge difference between making a mistake and getting caught. Someone burning their cookies because they forgot they were in the oven, that's a mistake. A burglar breaking into someone's house and getting caught stealing with hand in cookie jar, well, that's just getting caught. The burglars certainly didn't commit burglary by accident, that was their intention, they just simply got busted. EA wants to pretend that Battlefront 2 was a case of burnt cookies by using the word mistake, but we all know that's complete horse shite. We all know it was a case of hand in cookie jar. So get out of here, Patrick Soderlund, with talks about realizing your mistakes, about trying to rectify those mistakes moving forward. If you want to be honest with us, talk about how you guys plain and simply got greedy, and how you'll strive to place your product's integrity above your avarice moving forward for once. Moving on, Patrick Soderlund proceeded by adding the following statement: "We had the intent that was designed for us to have more people played over a long period of time, and like a lot of games on the market, to be able to afford to do that, we had an idea of getting returns from that. But at the same time, we got it wrong, and as a result, we had to take very quick and drastic actions to turn everything off, and we have since worked and redesigned the progression system. People seem to appreciate what we have done, players are coming back, and we're seeing stronger engagement numbers. People seem to think that for the most part, we got it right. It doesn't mean we will stop. We'll continue to improve the game, we'll continue to push on these things, and we'll have to be very cautious with what this means for future products." First of all, if you want people to play your games over a long period of time, just make a good-ass game where monetization doesn't compromise integrity. There is nary a sign of microtransactions in, say, Monster Hunter World, save for a handful of emotes you can directly purchase outside of the game for a couple of bucks, and I've already poured 160 hours into it with no regrets. Now, Patrick does admit that EA as a company did try to ride the loot box wave like many other games on the market, but also claims that it was all done to be able to afford keeping the game running for a long time. Look, I get that the upkeep on things like servers and employees costs money, but for a gaming giant like EA to say that they absolutely need to implement the most insidious forms of microtransactions and loot boxes to be able to afford to keep a game alive, yeah, that is absolute rubbish. As I've said before, it's not about having to make money to afford their operations, it's about making all the money in the world, milking every drop out of players' wallets. I don't believe for a second in the narrative that this stuff is excusable because games cost too much to make, especially when we know for a fact that lately EA is spending less on making games because the lucrative nature of live services means that they don't need to make as many games as they used to. The rise of live services means that they can spend less and earn more. It's the easy money-making scheme of the gaming industry, but it all comes at the compromise of their game's quality and the player experience, about which they don't seem to give a damn about so long as they're raking it in. As for what Patrick Soderlund said about people appreciating what they've done with the Battlefront 2 overhaul, I would say that appreciate is a strong word for the current circumstances. We certainly see it as a step in the right direction, but none of it will matter if EA slowly starts regressing to old habits with future titles. Speaking of future titles, to close the interview, Patrick Soderlund had the following to say about upcoming games like Battlefield 5 and Anthem. We have taken significant steps as a company to review and understand the mechanics around monetization, loot boxes, and other things in our games before they go to market. For games that come next, for Battlefield or for Anthem, players have made it very clear that we can't afford to make similar mistakes, and we won't. Let's get one thing straight, EA is fully aware and they fully understand how mechanics around monetization work. This is a craft that EA ushered and perfected. What Patrick really means to say is that for the moment, EA knows they cannot get away with pulling another Battlefront 2, so they're backing off. For them, it's not about is this the right thing to do morally, it's always been about can we get away with this. As for whether they can live up to the promise that games like Battlefield 5 and Anthem won't make the same mistakes when they launch, we'll have to wait and see. Personally speaking, I'm still skeptical as we have done this song and dance of EA screwing up, claiming that they've learned from their mistakes, backing off for a bit, and then slowly inching their way back to old habits one too many times. This process, this vicious cycle has been going on for years, but it's only now that it's getting the level of attention and scrutiny that it warrants. I will say that the Battlefront 2 debacle was something of an unprecedented scale, garnering international traction from gaming communities, media outlets, and government officials. So the hope is that this massive, pervasive backlash will be enough to finally get EA to snap out of their greedy stupor before it's too late, before the government kicks the doors down, before they lose what little reputation they have left. At the end of the day, I honestly don't give a damn about EA's apologies, boilerplate statements, and claims of learning from their mistakes. I want actions, not words. In the wise words of Kratos,
do not be sorry. Be better.
These are just one man's thoughts and opinions anyway. I'd love to hear what your take is on all of this in the comments below. With that, I would like to end this news update. Thank you for tuning in. If you enjoy my content, consider supporting me on Patreon. It is completely optional, but donating even as little as $1 a month will go a long way in helping this channel grow. And to be further updated on all things gaming news, reviews, and discussions, stay tuned right here on Young Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Young out.